Happy Majestic Mondays, and welcome to the first Monday of October. Let's just take a deep breath in, hold, and exhale slowly. Mondays give us a new invitation, a chance to meet life not with force but with flow. Lately, I have been really just reflecting in depth and just turning inward. And today's focus is on acceptance, letting go of resistance, and practicing surrendering. The reasons why I want to talk about these things is because I'm going through things in my personal life, just life in general, and I'm learning a lot of these three things: acceptance, letting go of resistance, and practicing surrendering. And I've noticed that one of life's biggest lessons is that resistance creates suffering. Resistance often looks like you wanting life to be different than it is right now, right? Or you're fighting against reality instead of meeting it with presence. Or sometimes you can be holding on tightly to what's already asking to be released. So when we resist, we create tension inside ourselves, mentally, emotionally, and sometimes even physically. And that tension turns into stress, overthinking, or even self blame. First of all, let me see a raise of hands, which I know I can't see, but how many of y'all really have felt this way where you have so much tension and you're just overwhelmed and you're stressed and you're overthinking and you just don't know. You're just resisting everything that's happening. You don't want it to happen. You don't want it to be what it is. And it's just like, no. Well, let me tell you this. I have been feeling that. And it may not be just lately, but I may be just more aware of it now. But a lot of times in life, I have resisted so many things. And like, for me, I currently am I'm resisting stepping into my power, right? I'm resisting loving on myself. I'm resisting showing up for myself. And I'm resisting what those things are supposed to look like and what life is looking like. For example, with me, I want life to be a certain way. And a lot of that comes from fear. A lot of that comes from the lack of control. When I experience things going a different way of my perceived outcome, I am very much resistant. Like, no, this is not how it should be. This is not what it's supposed to be. This is not what we talked about. This is not what it looks like. And a lot of the times when I'm experiencing and facing these moments, I get extremely overwhelmed. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I get extremely overwhelmed. And when I get overwhelmed, I start overthinking and I start thinking about all the things that it should be. And then also, just in those moments, I start experiencing very negative and intrusive thoughts. And it could be in my relationship where it's like, okay, this is not what we talked about. This is not what it is. And I don't think I can do this that way because this is not how I envisioned it. And the other person is like, hey, let's make it collaborative. Let's meet in the middle. And I'm like, no. So I start to get very intrusive thoughts like, oh, well, why is this person doing this? Why is it this way? Or like, why? What if X, Y, and Z, you know? And the thing about that, though, it really causes a lot of tension in my body. So with that, my jaw gets very tight, extremely tight, by the way. And then I start to experience a heavy chest, and my heart rate starts to race sometimes, depending on what it is I'm up against when it comes to resisting. But that's how it shows up in my body. And one way that I am learning to get out of resistance and learning to let go of that is acceptance. The power of acceptance is huge. It's extremely huge. Acceptance doesn't mean liking everything that happens. It means meeting reality with honesty and grace. And when we accept, we shift from why is this happening or how is this happening or what made this happen to, okay, this is happening. Now, how can I respond with clarity and peace? Acceptance looks like allowing yourself to feel emotions without judgment, naming what's true in the moment instead of avoiding it, and then realizing that acceptance is not weakness, it's wisdom. So for me, I'm going to be completely honest. It is hard for me to accept things when it doesn't go my way. I'm going to be 100% honest. It's extremely difficult because, for one, when I am facing emotions, so one thing about me, I am a very sensitive individual and I have a lot of emotions. And again, emotions aren't bad, right? However, if I'm not doing what I need to do to self soothe, regulate, and nurture myself, then my emotions can be very overwhelming. And a lot of the times that causes me to avoid feeling what's happening and accepting what's happening, because when I'm experiencing a whole bunch of emotions like fear, worry, then like I don't want to face it. And so I resist, right? I resist. That is where the resistance comes from. And then one thing I've been learning, honestly, how I've been learning to just kind of practice acceptance, really, it's just identifying what's happening. I have to be more mindful. I have to be more aware of, okay, what is happening right now? Not why is this happening, but what is happening? What am I experiencing? And then what am I going to do about it? And with those practices, it allows me to be like, okay, well, this is what I experienced. Um, this is what I'm feeling, and what do I need to do to nurture my feelings? Because a lot of the times I resist my feelings, a lot of the times I avoid it, a lot of the times I don't want to be in that experience, right? And a lot of the times it activates my fight or flight, like my first survival mode. And when I'm in that mode, it's really difficult for me to get out of and get back into reality. And so when I'm slowing down and taking a few breaths, and I'm like, okay, like what is happening, bro? Like what is happening? So I just have to sit there. And sometimes I have to allow myself to just feel those feelings. And I've been learning a lot as of lately. I've been more aware, noticing that I don't like to feel those feelings. I don't like I'm so I'm judging myself, right? I'm judging myself like, no, I shouldn't feel this. I shouldn't feel that. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel that. And when I notice these things on hindsight, I have to really let go of control. And again, that control comes from fear, fear of loss, fear of abandonment, fear of being alone, fear of being misunderstood, all of those things. And when I realize that I just have to let go, it brings me more peace than trying to push harder on what would have been. And I can say that a lot in um, my personal relationships, not just romantic, but just with friendships as well. Like the way I go about building relationships with people, and we're all different. We all show up in different ways, and learning to accept those is key to having a range of friendships and growing in your familial relationships and in your romantic relationships. The one thing I've learned is just to really take a second and realize what's happening. And I can't say I've 100% successfully mastered this. It's still very, very new to me. And what helps is having people in your corner who can hold you accountable, and also holding myself accountable. Like that's really important to me anyways. And then again, so letting go of control, right? When you let go of control, you start to surrender. I view surrendering as freedom. And I don't know how to do that yet. Actually, it's interesting because I pulled my cards today and I pulled seven cards. And the fourth card was upside down and it was the surrender card. I'll go more into detail about, the Oracle deck that I have and what I'm using. But when things are upside down, it's not bad. It's just you want to bring more focus and practice to that area. And so I have to remember that surrendering is not giving up. It's giving over, right? It's choosing trust instead of force. Surrender is saying, like, I don't have to hold everything together. Like, I can allow life, God, the universe, whatever guides me to carry some of this too. I admit I try to have so much control in my life. And before this podcast recording, I broke down. I cried and I literally just prayed. I haven't prayed in so long. And I sat there and I prayed and I said, Please guide me. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I need help. I don't ask for help. I don't like in this type of way, right? Where I'm exhausted and I'm hurting and I'm in pain and I'm emotionally distraught. I've been going through grief this past 3 years and facing some other health issues, not with myself, but with other people. And it's fearful, it's anxiety ridden, it's scary. One thing that grief and losing a loved one has taught me is that I have no control. I have no control over anything, is what my thought was, right? And when I started saying that, I started believing that I have also no control over myself, but that's not true. That's not true, right? And so with that, I tried to gain control. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. This is how things are like just applying force, applying pressure where things that don't require pressure. But ways that I would like to start practicing surrendering, and maybe this will resonate with you, is again, I want to take a pause before reacting and then breathing deeply. And I feel like I've been doing that lately. And it's been very helpful just analyzing what's going on. Like, hey, acceptance, this is where I'm at. This is what it is. I can't control this. It's easier said than done. Absolutely. Easier said than done. However, my goal is definitely to just pause, to take a second. I no longer want to come from a reactive space. I want to be able to be aware of what's happening, be mindful of how it's affecting me, and also accepting that this is what's happening. This is what it is, and then surrendering like, hey, that's it. And again, easier said than done, absolutely. In ways that I want to help practice, pausing is grounding myself. Like I said earlier, I release what I cannot control. I can't control everything. So reminding myself, giving myself affirmations and just speaking words and wisdom to myself. It's interesting because the cup that I'm drinking my tea in has a serenity prayer, and I actually want to read it. God grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Okay, so trust that every ending opens a door to a new beginning, right? So one thing I'm practicing is accepting and surrendering. Something I've recently surrendered to is my career. I am in a new position and I want to control every aspect on how my development is going to go and what it's going to look like and where I should be within the next 6 months or the next year. And I'm pushing and I'm like, this is what it's going to be. And then I'm facing a lot of like humbling realizations and lessons, right? Where you start to understand, hey, I thought or I believed I had this skill set to a certain caliber. And then when I was facing this certain situations at work, I'm like, okay, I actually am not there yet. And so I had to surrender to being a student again. I had to surrender to be have a beginner's mindset. I had to surrender and give myself grace to know like, hey, this is where I'm at. And when I shifted into this mindset, it allowed me to become more organized, which is insane. It allowed me to open up more to my coworkers when I needed assistance or when I needed help with something. And it also allowed me to speak up for myself and like the things that I needed and or wanted. And when I noticed this, it's a small one. It's not something like drastic, but I was resisting a lot, and I couldn't accept that, like, I wasn't the best, quote, unquote, right? I wasn't already good and 10 toes down on the work that I was doing, and it caused a lot of turmoil. It caused me to shut down a lot at work. I didn't talk to my coworkers, and I also didn't I wasn't open to them either, and I wasn't allowing them in, and that caused a disconnect because it doesn't allow me to be a team player. And it caused me also to make a lot of mistakes, and mistakes are okay. Like I have to remind myself too. So with that, I realized, okay, something has to give. I'm stressed, and it didn't help that my personal life was kind of, was the boat was rocked. And so I was just everywhere all at one time and didn't know how to show up. And I couldn't show up for myself, which means I couldn't show up for other people. So when I started to surrender and remind myself, like, hey, Mila, like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You're going to learn what you need to learn. You're going to develop the skills that you want, but I have to give myself grace. And that's something my director recently told me, that I have to give myself grace. And that leads me into, just taking the actions that I need to do and reflect on the things that I need to do this week or just in general. And I want y'all to join in on this. The first practice is notice resistance. When you feel tightness, ask, what am I resisting right now? Ooh, that's gonna be a good one. That's definitely gonna be a good one for me. So I encourage y'all to take this week and listen and to yourself and ask yourself, what am I resisting right now? And come back and comment in the episode down below. I want to hear what y'all have to say. The next one is practice acceptance. I want you to say to yourself, this is what it is right now. I can still choose peace. This is something that I definitely have to work on. Like, I notice when I feel tightness, but I don't notice what it is that I'm, experiencing this tightness for. What am I resisting? And then also reminding myself, like, this is what it is right now, and that's okay. I can still choose peace, and currently working through that day by day. And then the last one is to surrender. Surrender daily. Write one thing each night that you were handing over instead of carrying alone. And today I've already done my surrender for today. And my surrender was, I am surrendering and releasing control. I am exhausted and I need guidance. Show me the way is essentially what I was saying. Show me the way. And now that I've, created that surrender for myself, I went through a few affirmations as well. And I'm going to share those with you right now. I want you to sit down and close your eyes really quick. And I just want you to take these in. I release the need to control everything. I trust the flow of life to guide me. I accept what is and create peace within it. Take a deep breath. Exhale with a sigh. Imagine yourself holding a heavy stone. It represents your resistance. Feel its weight in your hands. Now picture setting it down on the ground and watching it roll away. Notice how much lighter your body feels when you're no longer carrying it. You are free to walk forward, unburdened, open, and at peace. Thank you for starting your week with me, y'all. May this Monday remind you acceptance is freedom and surrender is strength.